extremist Catholic Christian fanatics. Nor was professed Christian Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma bomber, paraded as a Christian extremist.
Well, it depends what you mean by terror. If you mean any resistance fighter is a terrorist, if the Europeans don't like him, they would call him a resistance fighter if they like him. They would call him even revolutionary if he takes over power. But if they don't like him, they just call him a terrorist.
One of the deeper agendas for the West is one of contagion. Since the fall of the Ottoman Empire, the Muslim world has been fragmented into bickering groups. The only thing that can unite the world's largest practicing religion is an Islamic government. The Islamic government sentiment in the South Asian region since the emergence of the Taliban has been on the increase. British Pakistani Muslims recently called for Pakistan to adopt a similar pan-Islamic government. Afghanistan has started a tradition that has to be nipped in the bud. In no way, shape or form can the Islamic sentiment be allowed to spread to Pakistan. It is interesting to note that Pakistan, unlike any other Muslim-majority nations, is the only one to have nuclear capabilities. So it seems the bigger agenda is, as the Taliban say, beyond bin Laden, with the key objectives being 1. To form a US-friendly and dependent government in Afghanistan, 2. To further control resources of the Gulf and Caspian Seas, 3. To monitor Pakistan's nuclear bases and calm Israeli fears, and to kill the seeds of Islamic rule before they are allowed to grow. We need to question the motives behind some of the countries of the world lending their support to America. Russia, a country once embarrassingly defeated by the Mujahideen. Afghanistan's Northern Alliance, a rogue group of rapists and pirates backed into a 5% pocket of the region, desperately looking for any advantage to defeat the Taliban. China has now jumped on the American bandwagon by equating terrorism to the Islamic separatist movement in the Yingzhou province, a people simply seeking a separate autonomy from mainland Chinese rule. Some of the bandits that make up the coalition defy ethical consideration. The American government, like the CIA, has transcended beyond morals and ethics to achieve a desired end. America has signed a Faustian pact, whose consequences will become apparent in the years to come. When this witch hunt ends, America and her allies will have all of its enemies dispatched and neutralized. And so, with one word, terrorism, the 21st century witch hunt has begun.
Peace advocates are applauding the president's speech, but only with one hand.
The UN food agencies are warning that 1 million Afghans face imminent starvation if staff cannot return to the country to distribute food supplies.
Along with Attorney General John Ashcroft's call for roving wiretaps, means that many American citizens could soon be more listened to than Osama bin Laden.
Being an unstable leader who might go off on a tangent, and the US could possibly use excessive aggression in response to the attack, leading to a humanitarian crisis.
Prior to September the 11th, the media via the Hollywood Institute had begun a mental marination process with films such as The Siege and the more dangerous film Rules of Engagement. The aim of the media is to marry Islam to terrorism in a slow ceremony. Misuse of words like Islamicist and Muslim fundamentalist, which are generally benign in nature, are being reverted, hijacked, and associated with the extreme action of a negligible few. The media generally parades two types of Muslims on their screens: the extreme impractical groups with un-Islamic agendas, fueled and engulfed by hate and frustration, and the second group of old, weak, pacified, disillusioned, out-of-touch reactionary and apologetics. They are a sharp misrepresentation of the contemporary intellectual Muslim world. These assimilated and confused people, as opposed to stand up for justice, strip themselves of their honor and beg like dogs for crimes they have not committed. In a malicious attempt to demonize Muslims, footage of Palestinians celebrating in the aftermath of the attack were pumped around the world. This now became the focal point that enraged the world against the Muslim community. The media has used its powerful arm again to control and reroute sympathy. Whatever little sympathy the Palestinian people were receiving from their resistance to the Israeli occupation was now quickly withdrawn. Clearly, these repeating images were circulated with that predominant objective in mind. Rumors emerged later that the footage, several years old, and the celebrations were with regards to Iraq's withdrawal from Kuwait. The more accurate report investigated and found that people celebrating had no knowledge that America had been attacked. This information was conveniently ignored by the major media companies. Once again, the Muslim world was faced with defending itself against crimes it had not committed. In the minds of the unvoiced and oppressed, the tragedy that befell America is a tragedy that has become normal to them. In their minds, America knows how they feel, now that she too has tasted death.
We want America to suffer. We want something to cause America to wake up. But as soon as we woke up ourselves from the shock, we realized that the victims were innocent people. That no act of tribulation is moral in response to this crime.
The error of some elements in the Muslim world is in their laid-back approach prior to these chain of events. Two groups exist: those who have become content to remove their identity and merge into the society, a group that now lies exposed and homeless, desperately turning back to their Islamic identity for shelter. And the second group, the isolationist, who has left a niche of educating the non-Muslim world to the non-Muslim world. This selfish exclusion has now brought great misunderstanding, and from misunderstanding, the Muslims living in the West have now found themselves surrounded by people who fear them. The previous narrow generalizations of stereotyping and alienating the West have been to no benefit. What many have failed to recognize is that America is a massive nation made up of many ethnic minorities and cultures. It is a nation with a broad range of views, and has brought forth some of the most revolutionary thinkers such as Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Within this wide variety of people, there are hearts and minds begging to learn about Islam, but they are left wanting. The media has been pumping out anti-Islamic material for decades, and now that things have come to a head, the newly stimulated Muslim groups have risen from their slumber to fight a media battle that is in its maturity.